Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It's Friday, February 16th. Appreciate all the comments on, keeping it authentic. That's where my gut is. I don't know how else to do it. Um, I'm still in the beginning stages as far as I've come a long ways on how to be in front of a camera. But I'm still learning. And that's what life's all about, is the willingness to learn, right? And that's what today's topic is on. How do we become better at things? Or how do we accomplish goals? How do we do anything in life? Stay tuned. All right, so welcome back. My name is Eric. This is the weekday show, end of the week. And we usually have something going on the weekends. I haven't put out much for repair videos during the day. And I think today I'll show you why. You guys have been so helpful on kicking me right between the DRs to get the shop cleaned up. And I've been on this mission between that and taxes. And that's how bad I hate taxes, because taxes are worse than cleaning the shop. But it all started off with, I think it was Travis and Jason were both talking about lighting. That it was like a dungeon, and poor Claude was out working in minimal light. So I installed 20 LED shop lights out there with him and that was us. And that worked out great, except now I could see the dirt. I could see the dust build up. I could see all that. So then that required me to have to go to work and start cleaning. So cleaning has been. We worked right through last weekend working on trying to get the shop cleaned up. And more yesterday. I emptied shelves, stuff that, hasn't moved in years. I boxed up and just tucked. Like some of it's car stuff, when it comes to the 60s and 70s, like a lot of fuel filters, breathers, or stuff to do with services. I went to an auction here probably around 10, 12 years ago. It's a repair shop. And I bought a lot of stuff at that repair shop. And it was all new stock. But it was tucked in a back room. And a lot of it was for like the 60s and 70s cars and trucks, light duty trucks. So that stuff I'm just going to take and get a hold of a couple guys that I know that do the car restorations and stuff that might have use for them. I've got the older plugs for the older cars. But I had a friend that did something similar to that. His name was Mike. And he and I he got me into eBay. He and I first started, I see him at auctions and stuff. And he was buying stuff at different auctions and then putting it on eBay and selling it to make extra money. And he had spent over 30 years of his life as a parts guy, whether it worked for a dealership or work for like a national chain of parts, like Napa, or just to name one, Advanced Auto 2. But the guy was just really, really smart when it came to knowing his parts. And I can remember he went to an auction about 110 miles away. And I was asking him, because we used to go to like the big auctions where they would come in with excess inventory and just dump it pallet loads. But it was an old dealership, an old Chrysler Dodge dealership that had closed a number of years prior to that. And the owner had passed away, got to the kids, and the kids decided to have an auction, get it cleaned right out, and sell the building. They didn't need it, they didn't want it. So the stuff out front in the showroom and all that stuff was bringing pretty good money. And as the day went on, it was an all-day event. But as the day went on, you could see things started going cheaper because people were leaving. They'd been there a long time. They were getting tired. But Mike was a trooper. He stuck it out. And there was this one storeroom off to out of sight. And I mean, it was poorly lit. I think the floor was wet. And they got down towards the end of the auction. They got doing the parts and everything, got rid of all the parts. And Mike went up to the auctioneer and said, "What about the parts in the back building?" And he said that they aren't worth even monkeying with. He says, "I'll give you $100 for them." The guy says, "Sold." So $100, and it filled his vehicle and mine. I had a truck. We brought them back, and a year later, he had profited over 20 grand, and was still going on that old dingy back room. But it was the old Mopar, parts that he was selling. Oh, he got a lot of lenses, headlights, small, quick moving stuff. And the reason he got top dollar was because he knew what he was talking about. The man knew his parts. He knew what models it fit. And that's the key. He enjoyed doing that. But that brings us to, how do we become successful, or how do we approach anything in life if we want to become good at it? And I think the most important thing is the willingness to want to learn and to want to do it. Because we come at it with a different mindset. If we enjoy doing it, then we're quick to want to do it, right? But if it's something like taking out the trash or something that we really don't care that much about, we procrastinate on it. And we don't become better at taking out the trash, right? But whether it's wanting to get into business or, do repairs on small engines on the side, or anything you approach in life, the willingness to want to learn, the willingness has to be there. You have to have a certain aptitude as well, and knowing where your skill set is. I mean, anyone can go out and buy tons of tools and then call themselves a mechanic. But we all know that that's not what makes a mechanic. Not his tools. It's the skills, the knowledge, and how to utilize the tools. Because the tools are just that. They're things that he or she uses to accomplish a task. And then the other thing is, being realistic. To say that you want to be an astronaut, may seem far-fetched. Especially if it's me saying I want to be an astronaut. Because you have to be in a certain physical condition. A lot of times your astronauts are actually ones that have, have fighter pilots and jets and stuff prior to getting to that point. So they've got the skill set and they've got the aptitude. They're just making the next step, okay? So I would say the next thing, you have the willingness to learn, the willingness to want to do it, And then also the being realistic on what it is you want to accomplish. You know, what do they say? Dream big. The only way you are going to get a lot of money quick is if you win the lotto. But most lottos are like 20 million to 1 are the odds. I'm not saying that you won't win. I'm just saying that the odds are stacked against you. You have 21 million or 20 million people that are also doing the same thing you're doing, hoping for the best. So we can't do that in real life. I mean, if you want to spend a few extra bucks on the site, knock yourself out, right? Who am I to say? But you're not going to make your profession out of buying lottery tickets and living on your winnings. At least not anybody that I know of is able to do that. So we have to have the willingness to learn and keeping it real. You know, your realistic goals to start off with have to be attainable. And you're going to have short-term and long-term goals, okay? That's what it's all about. You have to have certain signposts along the way to check to see if are you progressing in the direction you want. And what ends up happening with a lot of people is that as they're progressing, and if they don't have short-term goals, they're just looking at the long-term. If they run into a problem, sorry to say, a lot of people give up. And instead of sitting there and trying to figure out how to get around that problem, they simply give up. And just chalk it up to, well, it wasn't meant to be, right? Then your willingness to want to do it and being realistic, neither one of them were met, were they? Because if your willingness to want to do it, you'll find a way. And being realistic is setting up short-term goals so that you can achieve as you're going. You know, it can be simply saying, look, I want to run a small engine repair shop. And then the first thing you do is you go out and you get a building that you're going to pay rent on. You go 20 grand in debt on supplying it with tools and your Visa, MasterCard machine, you know, what have you inside your building. You've got your small engine repair shop, right? But see, you've overlooked the most important part of having a small engine repair shop, and that is customers. You know, the field of dreams of if you build it, they will come doesn't always happen. And I've seen so many people lose their arses by making that leap, but forgetting the most important thing is your customer base. Your customer base will dictate whether you are in business or not in business. Your customer service skills will make or break you. How you deal with people will make or break you. You have to have customers. Because now you got a rent payment, and now you're $20,000 in debt in tools and equipment that all look pretty. But if no one's coming through the door to pay those bills, how are you going to succeed? That's why I always preach to anybody looking to get into any of these repair businesses is you first need to find out where are you going to get your customers from. How are you going to get your customers should be one of the most important things right off the bat. You know, after, you know, your willingness to learn and being realistic, who's going to be your customer? And where are you going to find them? What are the chances that you're going to succeed by going out and paying rent and now you got a loan out for 20 grand and you're paying on the loan and you haven't got one customer yet to walk through the door? How long do you think you're going to be in business? I give you 30 days when you can't make the rent or the loan payment because there's nobody coming through your door. And that's why I preach to start off with, small. Build your customer base. Your customer base is going to be your most important part of running a successful business. You need to know who is going to buy your product or who is going to buy your service before you get into that field. And a lot of guys started off as doing it part-time, and next thing they knew, they had enough people coming to them to get their stuff fixed. They said, well, I think I could take it the next step. And if you were to ask me how to do it, I would say that's exactly how to do it. Start small, don't have a lot of debt, do it part-time, nights and weekends, and build it while you're keeping your day job so that you have a regular income still coming in. If you toss it all to the wind and decide you're going to become a successful repair shop, I don't know what to tell you. If you're asking me after you get everything all in place, how do I get customers? I know you overlook the most important part of the whole scenario of how to run a successful business. You have to know your customer. You have to understand the thought process of your customer. And I think, that Jason and Travis and Amos can add stuff, of knowing exactly who they were going to sell to or who was going to buy their services or buy their products. So I'm going to start wrapping this up for Friday. You guys have a great weekend. I'll catch you around somewhere. But just keep that in mind. In anything in life that you want to do, you have to first have the willingness to do it, wanting to do it, and being realistic. And being realistic, a lot of times, is just starting out small and working your way up. You don't just jump in to the space shuttle and think that you're going to know how to pilot that up and back, right? There's so many steps in between, and that's life. That's how we learn. Whether it's a relationship that you want to have, you just can't jump into a relationship and hope for the best. On that note, you guys have a great Friday. We'll catch you later.